weather, but wind. Hello, before the first wind, before matter was bonded, before the first wind, there was the identity of forever nature. There was its identity of relationship to itself. And is the increasing value of that. What that looks like is one identity of volume that has three identities of subnatures of itself, bonded as itself, as the inherent, as the active, and as the progressive, as three increasing natures of volume as forever's identity. Only the extent of it is debatable. It is recorded that intersciences, the identities of each science categorically, that and how they are defended as victims in relationship to the evil world that is not sourced by our nature naturally. So before, this is why the Old Testament says in the beginning, this is a quick summary of the Old Testament, better than comprehensive ones. For example, beginning of the Old Testament, right up to the point where it says all you have to do is understand up here where it's talking about the sciences. The sciences share an identity that is differential this way. So it took a semi-nature of the complete nature of value out of space while it simultaneously filled it in. Because taking it out of space and pushing it into existence, and existence gave existence an increasing value while it simultaneously pushed that value out and then bonded in relationship to its identity of relationship to itself, and the value of that as the hierarchy of sequence nature in relationship to this also, which is simultaneously where its identity of relationship to itself is an individual, is a grouped, like for example, while it is inherent and active together grouped, it is simultaneously active and progressive grouped. It is simultaneously progressive and inherent grouped. Because a little piece of this is the shared identity each of those natures of volume have. Every existing identity of value progression individually together and grouped in together is that way. That's why we are a species this way. Individual, sexes, areas, ages, grouped. Culture, physical culture, in demonstration of the ancients valued physical difference. Exception nature is in demonstration of exception nature. The ancients valued being able to, the better we are simultaneously valued to what is the species nature of value, body of value. Grouped and individual, it's in the opposite order when we're doing it simultaneously. It's individual rights first because of the sequence nature. Because we're individuals of complete nature, but we can't be the complete nature that has to be to make more of itself. So we're valued as a simultaneous nature. And this is where Earth has a relationship to the grouped value, which is simultaneously differential. This is the Trinity. The Trinity is shared identity. This is ancient science. Since before semi-ancient criminal re-engineering of ancient sciences to make a whole bunch of victims simultaneously needing to defend roles with a criminally re-engineered perfection point of evolution of the republic revealed by the species working together proves that yin yang was drawn inside of O. Omega. A, B, and C are bonded. W, X, Y, Z are bonded. I mean, X, Y, Z are bonded. Extinction. It's outside the body. W, the wall. Each word, each letter stands for a word and for a sentence simultaneously. These sounds, that's because they were revealed in relationship to these sounds before sciences were self-valued, criminally foreign influenced. So we know they had laws here. They had the fact, cheating nature, slavery of everyone. We know they had laws here that had color involved with it. For fact, cheating nature racketeering, for positive racketeering. Worse than racketeering, worse than organized crime, worse than war crimes, simple organized crime method. Where the value is the fact, cheating nature styles themselves. Sequence racketeering, branches of government, using crime methods, pretending that people have to sue to have their wire crimes, mail crimes, abuses of each age of fact, cheating nature simultaneously. Not demonstrated how they're recorded, pretending things into databases, how they already have their family members themselves originally and still. So I learned a lot about how great and how resilient and how great people are through boxing. And this year, there are things I didn't want to tell them because I didn't want to make them paranoid. And so I never had conversations with people about. Plus, I never had time. I go to college. I go to the gyms. I could have 3 boxing careers by now. And I could prove that. I just need to be able to train. The guy never had one conversation with the people from Manchester Pal. Always polite to them. Never had a problem. But then now, see, these are people being used by and having been used by courts and by police forms with crime methods, individually and grouped, bonded. Former director of the FBI down. All bunch of other agencies involved with, people from my town that I don't know at all. They have been pretending other because they have prosecutors. They have a pathology that's interstates with the World Trade Center and with the Pentagon in relationship to peaceful means to counter what is worse than unpeaceful simultaneously, while they have natures of needs to stay on top of means to counter how they have concentrated value nature systems and dangers and threats in relationship to all natures of campuses. That's forced because of the concentrated relationship. This is all parts of all identities of value progression, individually grouped and together, have 2 identities of possession on both sides of themselves. Because one identity has a complete identity of relationship to itself and the value of that distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously onto and as 5 bonded identities of sequence nature. Invisible but still discernible too, because of how it is the hierarchy of sequence nature. So I'm not just using these words. This is to be better than uses of Maslow's use of hierarchy. See, this is as semi-nature, such only heard intersciences is positive treatments of names and things like that for premises treatments that are with physical delusions, criminally foreign influence premises treatments, quality of fact treatment nature, as criminal insidious nature. So then defended victims of an evil world originally and still engineered, blaming other things, others themselves, for the real causes of negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures, which is this identity of, excuse me, the sciences as the identity of relativity, not by theory. See, we have the theory of relativity recorded involved with logic racketeering, with physical delusions, and with exploitation of that consciously, originally, still on and off each identity of the ground, quality of education, the value of the quality of education. And this is values course. Values are in relationship to positive and negative, which is contained within identity's nature, which will only stay positive unto itself, where we are semi-nature. That's what sex is, and the species bond as two distinct natures of identities of volume, of the same volume as the individual. It's individual, grouped, and together. And it's inherent, active, and progressive. These are three bonded semi-natures of the identity of forever, as the only three semi-natures that can be semi-nature, complete, and still positive unto itself always, not denying any exceptions. Every other semi-nature is only valued as semi-simultaneous nature, and that's only positive or negative, as Trinity nature. So, but this is as sequence nature too. So the ancients revealed these 26 sounds have an identity of relationship to themselves the same way the other languages do. And that's valued to a method of science by the use of words like evolution. This is evolution science. This is what reveals evolution's fruits and gifts. It's an identity of relationship to the ground as its identity of relationship to itself, more valuable than us, while we are more valuable than the ground, but only as more positive or negative forever nature to the progression, to the perfection of its a little bit more of its identity of volume, value over all parts of space nature. See, we are concentrated where we are semi-nature. There is positive and negative. And the value of knowing that and of trying to be positive, that effort is what makes more and more evolution here. It's its identity of relationship to itself. That is an identity of that reveals its complete nature's complete identity of relationship to itself, and the value of that as what causes and reveals evolution's fruits and gifts, what made them come from nowhere in the first place. See, they have this juxtaposed with private, the interbranch here and there. Each modern nation, we're in a semi-ancient trap. They can't pretend their integrity. They have to do it anyway, because the only peaceful counters are directors of agencies bigger than they'll admit. Recorded, confessed, and demonstrated originally, and still involved with database racketeering. That is used through methods like sequence racketeering, used to keep people self-value. Roles blaming the real causes of negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures on other things other than selves. Self-value roles preventing all that is simultaneously the order of the finite, delicate, and the order of the strong, might, combined. Only extensive, not complicated. See, they're pretending things are complicated. They're bringing in the same sickly distinctly to maintain how sickly non-distinctly and how sickly simultaneously, from being discerned. Each age of fact-sheet nature is maintained victim predator per what is database relationships groups of each age. Maintain need to keep each age of correlation natures means to like knowledge and things like that, what they hear through others and stuff like that. They have that confined to and as roles self-cultivated, originally and still propagated, all locations, areas and states criminally foreign influenced, all maintained effectively since semi-ancient times, since before the birth of modern religion's messengers. Thank God for them and for the preservation of English per science, with actually told with no criminal foreign influences, no physical delusions. That's most probable. English was revealed in ancient times, where we're supposed simultaneously supposed to value the identities, like you have to value the identities, your organs distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously. With and as the identity, they are semi-nature in relationship to your complete identity. The same exact one in way the identity of forever nature is greater than on all parts of itself. So the beginning of the Old Testament says we're supposed to write this here. We're from before matter. See, the Old Testament starts where the identity of forever nature, or the identity of forever. And identity is nature, per Anthony Wall, youtube.com/user/Romulus Wall. I hear you all. Tell you well, boxing. So we have forging names, switching names. We have people in the backgrounds with games through kids. They're attaching kids, and we even then make all exceptions. They're using involved. Where they do, where adults are with insidious little tricks on kids, because then they're gonna. It has an effect in relationship to where they place kids with databases. Who's their friends? Who's not? Per them. They have physical delusions, they have criminal foreign influence in the background. They're involved with database racketeering. They're pretending that they're concerned about things they have the integrity to be concerned about, because colleges and universities train them to be that way. Those very departments, each of the departments distinctly not individually grouped and together, are victims. See, now they're also victims in a way where we have to be able to address the judicial branch racketeering uses of them. Prosecutors, people tied to them, judges, but the way they influence people, not just once in a while. They already did this and sustained. This is how they are used remote since semi-ancient times, since before modern religions and latter semi-ancient times. That's a whole thing where we're positive. No one ever heard it's science. True. So we have to discern the difference between positive to criminal and seditious nature, especially legalized criminal and seditious nature, because it was criminally legalized. And James Madison, our founding father, and our founding parents did not have the free speech to give defenses to Marbury versus Madison, for example, because those courts were involved with an outstanding criminally foreign influenced criminal and seditious natures and crime methods individually grouped in together as victims of this evil. Now they had to go to those locations just like they do every day. This is all locations, all areas in all states. These are victims. This is what forgiveness is for. To demonstrate this through this maintaining criminal foreign influence is not sourced by one nation, but fluent through each. And as a method may effectively having maintained in maintaining its self-value rolls with it. Everyone blaming other things other than themselves. So you see, they all of a sudden they let the prisoners out of jail. People that pretend to be against them. These are internation prison cliques involved with racketeering along routes, where you have to have policing and stuff, not just for natural reasons, the way things have been. Therefore, statistics, not by accident, influences the again. Where these things they come? These are the same colleges and universities through time recorded and confessed and demonstrated. All victim predators. CCSU was involved with racketeering with little kids when I was in a grammar school of a whole bunch of juxtaposed natures. Now they're those people and their kids. I mean, now those are adults that are involved through time, pretending people had conversations that never were. Sequence shifting, in conjunction with them having spoke allusions into the minds of little boys and girls that are in the same grade but not in the same class. And then they change this distinctly each year, and or each they because when people can't talk, they don't let people know people's names. They have identity thefts, frauds, and racketeering originally and still. What is slavery about? It's about identity theft, frauds, racketeering. It's about torture. It's about how free speech was not only prohibited but forced other. And that invested, everyone invested the roles pretending other, treatments of positive that are not positive, pretending it's just the job. So we have recorded, confessed, demonstrated natures of industries that owe a lot of money, but they are simultaneously victim predators. We have hundreds of nations at once that are already invested uses of statutes, readings, uses of precedents here and there through criminal foreign influences, self-value. So that's a whole bunch of hundreds of nations individually grouped and together, forcing each one to entertain that. We're in an identity of negative value nature progression, humanity. This is nature's course. This is nature's nature. That which has space, existence, and the semi-nature of both of them, bonded as a circuit that increased its value, and it keeps increasing it keeps it complete. The heartbeat of Allah, the heartbeat of the Trinity, simultaneously. These are two counter positions. English was revealed for science, not asking faith. Letter L. No, longing, right next to M. Mother. We all come from mother. We all come from left to right too. In this conference, where English was revealed to teach, because the identity of the sounds. Now, this is with the other sounds of other languages individually grouped together the same way. So we should thank God that other nations preserve their languages, like Arabic. We don't have to know Arabic. We're supposed to know one language and have a grouped. So what is true in relationship to it, we have to have the identity of relativity discerned. And it has an identity of space and of existence distinctly, not distinctly, and simultaneously. The same, but not the same. Sequentially. And in relationship to where they are simultaneously. This shows how one identity is a complete nature of relationship to itself. Simultaneously, while it is a bonded relationship to itself, simultaneously while it is a it is a closed relationship to itself, as the letters of the English language were revealed to teach this. This is the identity bigger than the four directions. Now, even if you apply that to bigger than all space, this is an identity that's generating them between what is between and as what is inherent and active simultaneously grouped, and as and between what is simultaneously progressive and active grouped, which is in demonstration too with the way the English is revealed to teach about these sounds. They have identities again. Each sound, each letter stands for a word and stands for a sentence simultaneously. A standing for alpha. This is about the identity of forever making more of itself. Itself and its identity of relationships to itself and the value of that is coming to, from, as, with, and for even the smallest value, even all grouped, a whole bunch, all group values, even all together. So I'll drop the sciences. You know, it's all right if somebody said they're forcing everything. People miss it because each age of fact cheating nature was made roles originally and still valuing physical delusions juxtaposed with criminally foreign influenced styles of uses of the identities of locations, areas, and states. Inclusion as, with, and as, what modern nations are in and as. And then further with the foundation of it, as it, like zoning laws, forced with the fact, cheap nature, slavery, and torture of our founders. That's why George Washington had to come, even with the French general's help, they could only semi counter extort that. They left with overt slavery with color in the North. They also left that to be overcome because they didn't have free speech. They had to hide what really brought them together for the revolution. Forced it too. Everyone they could only force. They could only organize, barely organize a means to semi counter extort that which was already entrenched here. Now think about that. What is, but aiming at the right thing, which is criminal foreign influences. No one who owns a land, you know, no one ever liberated modern nations from the zoning laws tactically denatured relation to nature, tactically denature human education, evaluation of evidences, evaluation of the integrity of what other people say. See, that's because we have the experts on that involved with racketeering methods, with the branches of government individually grouped and together, distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously, and sequentially. And there are two identities of sequenced nature recorded further, inseparable from what is distinct, non-distinct, and simultaneous. Now, see, this is not complicated. See, but they're preventing people from getting writing, and they're pretending other when they confessed and recorded have been falsifying police reports into databases. And even when they do have trials, they're recorded and confessed. They've been racketeering uses of the way the juries are unfolded. They have all kinds of medical racketeering with judges and with their family members. Maintained in used by what keeps them already kept them needing to hide live aggressions, and that's right back to all locations, areas, and states. It maintained Native Americans A through Z. It tactically took away the ability to have the long words of our species defended. So before the first wind, one identity, as it was gained, for the identity of forever nature was a gaining identity of motion. distinct from, but while as the value we know as motion. See, now we know the mind's motion makes not wind, but the body's does. But the body's in the minds is in demonstration of value as nature, and nature is value simultaneously. The Trinity with that, which is space, existence, and the semi-nature they share. And for that moment, so the ancients we taught this totally different because the science is sharing identity. And so we have the predicate and demonstration of the identity nature of a verb, which note changes into participle nature or infinitive nature when not used as a main verb. We're talking about its identity of value. It has a value/value nature relationship to itself. Everything is value nature inside values nature. This is from smaller than the smallest thing, small, as the order of the finite, as the value of that. To this body, we are semi-nature in relationship to, which only the extent of it is debatable. But that's being debated offensively with physical delusion, self-valued into sciences, because that's the styles of and the names of, and they like they have the name of Albert Einstein, theory of relativity. There's the identity of relativity that science is obligated to work with. It is 5 bonded identities of sequence nature, as 5 bonded identities of positive that will only stay positive unto itself. All exceptions are in demonstration of that. As we'll see, that's how Earth is. The more our value flees from here, Leith of Hadith, forced by nature itself. The more its inherent nature of volume as its own identity connects over there with the rest of space nature. Earth's nature becomes less and less valuable to itself. Its identity has a relationship to positive and negative too. This is what the beginning of the Old Testament is about. It's the identity of forever separating the firmament. This is good. So it's the quality of diffusion that we are. We're supposed to write the part before it. So here it goes. Before the first winds, there were these 3 bonded semi-natures of the identity of space. Its complete identity. And this Trinity is how it is. Each of those groups, that value. Its complete identity distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously onto the way they can be grouped and simultaneously, like active and inherent, separated from active and progressive, while it is inseparable from and has its own identity of volume. So now it's a grouped value, but it is simultaneously the individual value, its identity, but distinctly and non-distinctly, while it is individually onto each of those individual volumes, distinctly and non-distinctly, because they're its own. One identity is making more of itself by making more trinities. That's why we have from inside itself. So we have it has the phenomenon of 2 of the identity of 2 other identity of sequence nature and demonstration of this, as we'll examine on paper with the ancient snow people. Okay, this is long. Thank you if anyone is still watching. And, so put science before theory and use exception natures, and the exception is exception in the finite. See, we'll examine. I have to find the video. I have to find the words of Martin Luther King. He was using sarcasm. I saw in a clip. I don't think even anybody even realized it, because people are shock and awe from this crime method, from this or worse than organized crime method. But that's what it is: a simple method, worse than war crimes. Identity, the ground. So many bad things bonded. Motivations, apparent motivations, causes for people to be evil. Before our founding parents their parents were even born, it was already entrenched here in America, North and South. It was already entrenched in other nations, blaming other things, others themselves, and that used that relationship to science. Can't defend. They're not defending offensively, forcing glorified physical delusions, names glorification, like with evolution. This is the science of evolution that works with ground, because it has only one identity of relationship to the ground. That is positive or negative. That has nothing to do with what we call positive or negative, where we're not going by values actual course. So that's kept. Not one modern nation is. That can't defend that, and it takes on positive and stand logic with it simultaneously with sequence true inherent active and progressive means, and within by the phenomena of the other nature of identity of sequence nature, inseparable from us now. Two, inseparable from itself. Each person has, as an identity of value, has two identities of possession on both sides of us, and it's as a simultaneous nature, as what is going to be stay simultaneously positive onto itself, making more and more and more of its identity in relationship to positive and negative for its perfection. So we need to use, like, people are going to have to do, like, we're going to have the last coordinate system. See, the Burroughs book will help. So, well, we need a place. We need identity of the ground locations, the most forsaken. And we're going to do this as simultaneous nature. We're going to use pantheism as a science. See, they also made pantheism. They told the truth. It was God's. God's an algebraic variable. This is most probable. See, when you talk about probability, people make opinions, but they leave out what are the real evidences. See, these are evidences where the judicial branch and where the executive branch grouped and individually, for example, they switch names and forge names. Their roles, allowing the stacking of and hiding the stacking of criminally foreign influenced falsified police reports into databases. All the programs associated with courts. Like, there are places in East Hartford, CRT, then they have all these people, they have jobs now. Jobs. They're involved with racketeering acts and methods. And see, but they're directed to it. These are with judges and with prosecutors, with database racketeering. This is a database worse than war crimes, using databases, using live progressions from it originally and still. The identity of the ground has a relationship to our quality of fact, treatment nature. Sequence nature has a value that is increasing as every value is, positive or negative, especially the ones that were and are already true always, not denying exceptions. That's a conjunction with exception nature. Because truth is in relationship not just to relativity, but to its hierarchy of sequence. So it shows us the order of relativity using science. We have theory offensively, physical delusions. Now you have sensibilities maintained. We have victim predators maintained, communications departments throughout the world with news media in that word, because these are also all the natures of courts and their family members on and off the colleges and universities involved with racketeering methods that are maintained, motivated by them, per uses of them as standing nature or volume as criminal and seditious natures. Kept that way. Victim predators. But we couldn't fathom till too late, until now stuck only being able to stay contemplating means to get out of getting in trouble. They're putting all kinds of sick needs to contemplate. They're changing what kids need to contemplate. We have the women roles originally instilled interbranch with interbranch men and private involved with child offenders, with foreign and how with foreign. Now there's an officer, real or made up the name, Hunter, involved with Hartford courts and with New Britain court, Superior Court, and with Middletown courts, and state police, and former director of the FBI, and a whole bunch of other FBI families and CIA families, and military police, foreign and domestic, on and off CCSU, on and off Trinity College, leading up to and in the Trade Center attack context, involved with racketeering with what they call the intelligence community, involved with all kinds of nasty natures, physical delusions, and identity thefts, racketeering, frauds, recorded uses of interbranch Facebook pages. They sustain violence, then they lie about the reactions to it. They're forging and switching names. Now I get the Attorney General now. And we all get to clean the New Britain and the New Haven FBI. And the judges associated with a Spada family and people in Newington. We recorded it because they're involved with judges also and doctors involved with medical racketeering, with sexual and with all kinds of abuses of little girls. Now there's a whole bunch of sisters and a mother with a high school further involved, with Washington, D.C., with AT&T, with various natures of agencies. Now these are interbranch, individually grouped together, criminally preventing writing and having pretended other and still pretending other. So they're preventing mandated law. They're lying about it while they're hiding exculpatory evidences and making up fake charges, falsified police reports into databases, fake recorded things used to cover their crimes from each age of my life and other people's. Now I've been asking for a response since I was a kid, and they're playing stupid now. They're lying about what's actually recorded over the phones. The branches of government are with AT&T. AT&T, it's nothing personal. I'll sign. I won't sue you guys. But we need if we need help. We need the Attorney General now anyway. Now they have a whole bunch of people forging names, switching names involved with and as a Leahy family. That Wethersfield police and a whole bunch of doctors they forged the names of. Dr. Shamsi Ali, I never had a conversation with over the phone. He said they forged his name. They must have, or he didn't use the word. He said he doesn't work with them any longer. So they force people for mental evaluation, and they make up a whole bunch of fake conversations that never were, because the same people were involved since I was a kid behind my back, pretending me to fake locations. Pretend I never had a class with them, never had a conversation with them. They try to film other. When I walk by, they don't have evidence other because it doesn't exist. They're pretending fake evidences into databases. I've been asking since before the Trade Center for a response. We don't have one. We don't have one body of integrity, male or female, interbranch and private. That's our species' actual integrity, recorded, how maintained, motivated, worse than forsaken. There's a whole bunch of people associated with Neville. I got Mr. Neville, also involved with medical racketeering and military, foreign, domestic, and real estate companies that judges are involved with criminally because they're sequence racketeering. They're preventing and having prevented mandated law, and they're involved with tortures by hiding exculpatory evidences and making up fake inculpatory evidences as roles with sexual assaults and abuses of each age of fact treatment nature, even recorded online. Now, when people go to courts, they don't even talk to you. They make confess, and these are unusual things too, because they're involved with racketeering here, with the lawyer of and with the person of former director of the FBI. His lawyer's name is Robert Chevrolet, which is where the locations of people from my town and to branch also foreign overt criminal enterprises involved with the same illusions, tied to the same racketeering acts and methods involved here. Weathersfield police with mail crimes and with wire crimes with this Leahy family. Forging names with them. Whole bunch of people with my new and past neighbors recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved racketeering with the Dillon family, with New Britain Superior Court, state police, and with these people involved with proven federal criminals and further ones associated with and as the family members and as the persons of co-defendants of Robert Luskin. Also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with racketeering uses of the locations next to and as Fox Connecticut News, next to and as WFSB, next to and as WTNH. It's nothing personal. They pretend stuff is personal because they don't follow mandated law, and they stole me to fake words and locations. They stole my family to fake words and locations. Prosecutors and their kids, they used former Governor Malloy and child sex offenders proven and other forced around their own kids as the leaders of the other kids. Now these are people involved with there's a ILO family. I mean that is also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with a former Mayor Gold, and now they also involved with people involved with racketeering acts with overt criminal enterprises on my street associated with them. Also, the witness protection program stewards associated with it. Now, not just former director of the FBI, other FBI intercity are recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with the same house, tied with the racketeering acts on off CCSU and on off Trinity College, taken to collusion. Now, see, they need to have everyone pretend they have the crime methods of telling people to pretend they don't understand people with simple things, so they keep stacking this more complicated, and they're forging and switching names, and they're having people do it with areas. They have deans and their family members involved with the deans off the campuses and on the campuses with the professors also off campus confessed criminal uses of Trinity College. like Dr. Shub, with his inclusion with various natures of courts and their family members leading up to and in the Trade Center attack context. And since, and with other deans from other colleges I didn't even go to and their family members. This is because they have Washington, D.C. associated with programs like they have all these criminal justice. Oh, we have to have these jobs. All the opinions, that's, it's about democracy. No, it's about simultaneous defense of the surface values of the Constitution. Each branch of government is recorded through criminal foreign influence and with physical delusions and sequence racketeering nature, pretending they care about their oaths. These are victim predators. They won't allow anything but angry opinions with physical delusions to respond to people asking to report the crime acts that demonstrate this. The courts are pretending they have the right to sexually and medically and all kinds of other sick, fake illusions to the kids. Uses of media, they've been directed to steal the identities of the family members of and of the persons of. This is time with little kids. So we have natures of violence, of sick identity thefts, and wire crime rolls, mail crime rolls of prosecutors, uses of their own kids to hide their roles within as such sick natures. Like with the principal sex offenders campus, like with the people further on off the South Steen Highway, middle school, further recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved racketeering with FBI, with Washington, D.C., and World Trade Center sexual circles, racketeering acts, clicks, rolls, hiding it, that recorded use as weapons, preventing people free speech by stealing our speech, stealing us to fake locations. Now, there's a Charlie Bowes I also never had a conversation with. I also never had a class with him. Also never hung around with him, never had anything to do with him. His sister, too, per Chris Walters. I never saw her in my life growing up. She's involved with a house in my area with them, with the extended family members, with police forms, with the uses of their like two Mendez brothers. Also, as ones involved with racketeering on and off Fox Connecticut News, as people involved, recorded, confessed, demonstrated involved racketeering with the Casper family, with these interbranch foreign military, foreign and domestic, all the uses of downtown Hartford, those clubs and stuff. Are people involved with prosecutors through time, with military through time, foreign and domestic, all kinds of racketeering, database racketeering, identity thefts, frauds, racketeering. What is it about with color? It's about three fake branches. It's about three fake branches that were forced, pretended other, till we can turn around and say, and then you find the seed and you make it grow. Vaccines. I'll let you know. Get me the name. Get who disbelieves into branch. Get on paper now. I asked many times. The recorded, confessed, demonstrated all kinds of interbranch racketeering with online police, with the identities of each science. They're pretending things. Who are they? They're making up things so they can lie about. Oh, that's not good behavior. They have behavior used as a word involved. That's recorded part of their roles with the racketeering with the kids I caught them with. They know that's recorded. They put other. Then I go to report it to someone. They attach me to. They put a fake arresting officer. They switch the officers' names. Then he lied with the judges and to them, and from them, and as them, and with them, and for them worse and worse. Vaccines. You think a sane individual spoke for any of these forsaken areas? Any area. Sickly, distinctly forsaken since founding. Pounding drums. to get effectively having kept self-valued worse than obfuscated, how sickly non-distinctly, and how sickly simultaneously. And all we have to do is to value that, because that's the means to liberate, bring release to the very everything. That's how you control prices. And what wants to control other ways you seize. Campus Marcius calls you through the breeze, return the name. All train, bring Legion 2. Be it never not native pure. This way alone is native pure, when true. It is individually first. It is group then value, and then together. That was disgusting. Nothing personal against gay rights, or whatever, but that's disgusting. The way they had that all that time, all these problems, and we have that fake integrity. All that time they wasted to make opinions about LGBT. They have this phrase. They're using group disgusting pigs with our kids. And they're pretending that's an opinion as they're racketeering while they're preventing mandated law from the finite acts from being reported. That's what's actually recorded. They use New Britain Superior's Court's Facebook page for rape threats and for racketeering acts with a principal sex offender, and they hid his confessions about the other people worse than him before he was off campus. He was a victim of what the Wethersfield police chief's daughter is involved with too. And that's a long-standing police chief, and the one years before with the same house, with the family members involved with the on off the principal sex offenders campus. Then now further with two Mendes police also, with two Kerr brothers, with misspellings of that name, confessions from state's attorneys, and all kinds of people themselves, and other Officer Jerry Miller further involved with them further now. And I asked them, they're involved with wire racketeering, lying about what is actually recorded over the wires with the FBI, with the CIA, with their roles with houses next to the schools that are in conjunction, also with racketeering that uses worse than racketeering uses of private school kids through time with the identity thefts, with the interbranch with their kids and with the prosecutors. Whole bunch of people tied to a Pandol family, interstates involved with the child sex offenders people and with the racketeering acts and uses of the identities of Trinity College and of CCSU from off them. See, we have criminal foreign influences maintained through all these people involved racketeering with the federal criminals in other cases proven, and then tied to a Robert Luskin, who's involved, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with various natures of courts. They used racketeering acts with them, and doctors that forged names. One's from my town. One's associated with people from my grade that I never had anything to do with. Then they made, after high school, they had a Rick Leon Faglione and his brother made confessions about their roles with people associated with my neighbor, also involved with these prosecutors, male and female with them, with racketeering, with databases before that and after that. I never had anything to do with him when I was in high school. I never, barely, I made those exceptions on Facebook. They took my Facebook page because of that. They've been using Facebook to hide our side's roles with the World Trade Center attack. And see, it's where hundreds of nations have been debating finite facts, what they call facts, sequences, and active and progressive ones here and there at once through criminal foreign influences with physical delusions. And worse, because of that, how that was is originally still exploited through criminal foreign influence method. They are recorded how kept needing to hide lies and having been acting to hide lies, sequential, finite, active, progressive, identity racketeering lies with overt criminal enterprises, categorically even. They have to pretend that, oh, no, it's just because we don't like you, that person. They're faking things. There's people with Joey Quest, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with a whole bunch of racketeering with police forms, also of pilots. Pilots also involved with the same houses in my area, with the one that neighbors passed and knew with the Dillon family, involved with racketeering with doctors, with kids, and with untimely deaths, with their drug clicks, their roles with abuses of kids through time. I have affidavits associated with this. When I was a kid, from strangers, also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. Chris Walters had a wedding, and he was influenced by people associated with interbranch racketeering acts and uses of routes, and people at the end of Walker Hill Road, involved with them with various natures of judges and police forms, and people with AT&T and a Spada family associated with medical racketeering. Also on with police, like a white family, police families on and off Fox Connecticut News. People with uses of on and off Paul Manafort Drive CCSU. Now these are FBI and CIA with racketeering acts and roles with human trafficking with media and with judges with crimes with child sex offenders, with the other branches of government too, because of their nature of needing to keep people, because of their uses of positive, self-valued as criminal and seditious nature, self-valued as logic racketeering styles, self-valued online. People in way of people asking to report simple things. People are pretending, people are using words of psychologists with physical delusions, and that's because of the physical delusions of racketeering associated with these doctors of psychology, recorded. So we have to deal with what is actually recorded. We have to deal with actual sequence. You follow the sequence shifts, don't follow the money, because the money is all originally instilled in collusion with agreements that were never had. You can't, as criminal and seditious nature, criminally legalized, told to pretend it's legalized, and told, because while they're doing that, they tell, oh, it's the perfect world. The perfect world is a phrase recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with the racketeering method that may effectively, recorded effectively, maintained originally and still. All locations, states, and areas, criminally foreign influence, used remotely, live progressions from each database relationship since before computers. Even be that just made, even this is also a method that juxtaposes the breaching screen as pseudo patriotism natures. Oh, but I gave blind sacrifice to some guy who gave me orders. Get down. Or gather round. Vaccines. Get me a paper response. Don't speak on TV anymore.